Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm the Jaywalker. Today I am in downtown Salt Lake City. Am I at a cemetery? No. Somewhere haunted? No. Today I am at Gilgal Garden, sculpture garden here in downtown. Join me on today's Jaywalk, where we'll talk about what it is and where it came from. So Gilgal Garden was the work and vision of one Thomas Battersby Child. He was born in 1888 here in Salt Lake. He was a masonry contractor. He was Mormon, a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And one of the projects that he did were, as I mentioned, downtown Salt Lake, was the 10th Ward building, which is just kitty corner on the same block that we're in. Gilgal is located in the middle of one of the city blocks. We're currently at, it's about 750 East and about 5th South. So, but it's right in the middle of the block. It's about a acre and a half, maybe 2 acre park. Here in the middle of this block. Now, as I mentioned, Mr. Child was a masonry contractor. Just over at 8th South and 4th South and 8th East. Behind me over here was the 10th Ward Chapel that he helped construct. Did a lot of the masonry work on it. Here in this sculpture garden, in this vision that Mr. Child had, there are 12 sculptures. Many of them made out of rock that were, we'll get to a lot of that, how they were created, but they were created here. The stones were brought from different parts of the state. But this was his vision. He started this when he was 57 in 1945. And he worked on it for the next 18 years until his death in 1963. Let's get walking. So this is the 10th Ward Chapel, the 10th Ward building that Mr. Child helped build. Pretty cool building. My goal this morning is to focus on the sculptures. There's also 70 stones that have different scriptures and thoughts and sayings on them. This first sculpture here that you see in front of us, it's called the Monument to the Trade. Decent likeness of Mr. Child here. As I mentioned, he was a masonry contractor. So he had a lot of tools of masonry trade hanging on the wall of this monument. The pants of the statue are made from bricks that he made. All of this, including this really cool kind of cantilevered ceiling, it's all attached to a 62-ton block down underneath. Monument to the Trade. And back behind the statue of Mr. Child, in that rock there is a likeness of the 10th Ward Chapel that he helped construct. The eagles along this wall here were actually salvage pieces, and nothing that Mr. Child did or had commissioned, but they were salvaged from the Bamberger rail station here in Salt Lake. And they were brought here. They were symbolized as patriotism. At some point during, after Mr. Child's death, the pedestals on which the eagles sit have all been replaced. This next one is entitled Monument to the Priesthood. As I mentioned, Mr. Child was Mormon, and so there's the books here on this rock that symbolize the standard works of the LDS Church: the Bible, the Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants, Pearl of Great Price. Next is this arch, and there's two stones down at the bottom that are meant to symbolize the big white stones kind of at the base there of the arches, meant to symbolize Jesus Christ, and Adam is kind of the forebears of Jesus Christ being the head of the church, Adam being the first man. The stones of the arch symbolizing prophets. Not sure if it's any in particular, but symbolizing prophets. And then the keystone, which is the same, I believe made the same stone as the two base stones. It was meant to symbolize Jesus Christ. And then there's the spire here, with that wire angel Moroni on there. Now this was meant to symbolize the priesthood. This taller one meant to symbolize the Melchizedek or higher priesthood of the LDS Church. And then the smaller attached spire here on the side meant to symbolize the Aaronic or lesser priesthood. This is a tribute to Bertha Child, Thomas's wife. From everything that's said in the literature and what I've heard, not a great likeness of her. She was, from all accounts, prettier and more lively than this bust would suggest. Down on the ground in front of the bust, it says, "Sole partner and sole part of all my joys, dearer thyself than all." Up above the bust of Mrs. Child, there is this birdhouse. It's one that, it's actually a replica of the original. The original was built by Mr. Child as a house for pigeons that he kept, kind of a roost for them. This was a replacement for them. It was a replica built by the people who took over care of the garden to replace the original when it became weathered and ready to be demolished. This next sculpture is meant to represent the cave of Elijah, who in the Old Testament, when he was run out of city, went into the desert and hid in a cave. In front of the cave, there's an inscription that reads, "Who reads me in ashes is my son in wishes." Meant to be that this garden and the sculptures here would be Mr. Child's remembrance after he passed away. This next one is the last chapter of Ecclesiastes. See, there's another head. I believe it's Mr. Child again. There's a cricket, and then the pitcher. All things that were talked about in the last chapter of Ecclesiastes. On the wall, Ecclesiastes 12:7. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. And then just below, like almost right in front of the cricket, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Again, Ecclesiastes 12, verse 8. So this next sculpture is based on Isaiah 11, talking about people pounding their swords into plowshares, their spears into pruning hooks. It's the monument to peace. Kind of cool. Again, some of the things have been replaced due to vandalism from previous times. Between 1963 at Mr. Child's death and 1997 when the Friends of Gilgal Garden, it was a nonprofit that took over the care, came along, but they've since replaced a lot of the missing parts on this. This is called Malachi 2. It is based on the last chapter of the book of Malachi, last book in the Old Testament, talking about sending Elijah the prophet to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, or to the children to the fathers. So there's hands hanging down, looking to turn those hearts toward each other. And right next to Malachi 2 is the testimony of Job. Down here at the bottom of this rock, you can see that there's a acetylene torch handle that's shoved into the rock. And this is how many of these statues were made, was with an acetylene torch cutting the rock, including this testimony of Job, where it's all these words. They engraved it and then pounded lead into the letters. This is captain of the Lord's host. And it was one that was again used, the acetylene torch, to sculpt out or to engrave in the warrior's body into this rock. Now, when asked about if he was going to finish off the head, Mr. Child said no. That was an expression of kind of a modern art that he wanted to do. This is Daniel 2. You can see legs there, feet a little closer to me. Another foot right there. There's a face. This is based on the story in the book of Daniel, again in the Old Testament, talking about Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Stone coming in, there was the big statue, the big warrior made of different parts that were made of different materials, and the stone being cut out of a mountain, rolling forth to cover the earth. That came in, smashed this warrior, made of all these different pieces, and then the big stone up above where the head is indicative of that stone being cut out of the mountain. One of the things that one of the beliefs in the LDS faith is that stone cut out of the mountain to fill the whole earth is the church. Is the gospel that the church preaches. This next one is called the altar. It was Mr. Child's depiction of an altar that was described by Joseph Smith, the founder of the LDS Church. The final sculpture is one that's probably most famous here at Gilgal, is the Sphinx. It's a pretty large sculpture. The face on the sculpture is that of the founder of the LDS Church, Joseph Smith. And then there on the chest plate, let's see if I can, is carved in part of the Salt Lake City LDS Temple with the Big Dipper there and the North Star, or Little Dipper and the North Star there in stars. So when asked about the face of Joseph Smith being the face on the Sphinx, Mr. Child's explanation was that, first of all, the Sphinxes are the symbol of mystery and enlightenment, I guess, when you find out their secrets and mysteries. And Mr. Child's deep-seated belief in the LDS faith, that was founded by Joseph Smith, that only through those things that Joseph founded, brought forth, could reveal the truths of the fullness of the gospel. Those were his beliefs. Surrounding me here are a bunch of rocks. It's a little circle where, after having set aside this area and putting these stones where they are, this was Mr. Child's favorite place to come and sit and contemplate and think about life. I believe planned for some of the things that he did here, but this was one of his favorite places. And in here there's a lot of the scriptures, hymns, sayings that he liked. I'm not going to go through all of the things that are written on the rocks here. I'll leave that for you guys to come and check that out. But I would suggest coming to check this place out. Gilgal Gardens, 749 East, 500 South Salt Lake. It's a cool place, even if you're just interested in something maybe a little strange or off the beaten path. Come check it out. If you like what you see, like it, share it, tell all your friends. We'll see you soon. Thanks for joining me on today's Jaywalk.